I knew the Alpha Heir long before he learned my name, long before his gaze tracked me through a crowded hall as if I carried the answer to every nightmare he ever hid. Kieran Frost never looked at anyone the way he looked at me that night. Not with hunger, not with recognition. With relief. As if my existence soothed something feral inside him. And as if touching him might wake the same hunger inside me. Most arrivals to Frostfang territory stopped at the stone archway to stare at the carved wolf heads and torchlit pillars. I didn't. I kept my eyes down, hands shoved into my sleeves, hood pulled low enough that even the breeze struggled to sneak under it. The less attention I drew, the safer I'd be. Rowan repeated that so often I heard it even when he wasn't beside me. Like now, when he stayed behind to avoid greeting the Alpha family directly. The gathering hall buzzed with conversation as warriors and trainees arrived for the exchange welcome. The scent of pine resin, cooked meat, and wet earth blended in a way that always reminded me how different packs smelled from one another. Frostfang's scent was sharp, disciplined, like a blade cooled in snow. "Ira," Myra's voice cut through the noise. She stood near the long table, arms crossed, evaluating me with her usual mix of suspicion and practicality. "You're with me today. Basic orientation, duty schedule, the works." Her short auburn hair framed a face that rarely softened, but something in her gaze held a kind of grounded steadiness. She didn't trust easily, but once she did, it stuck. For now, I was a curiosity she hadn't decided on yet. "Of course," I said, adjusting my hood. "Lead the way." We moved through groups of pack members exchanging greetings. I stayed quiet, absorbing details, how wolves naturally fell into subtle ranks without thinking. Alphas straight-backed, betas alert, omegas light-footed and watchful. They moved like pieces arranged by instinct. Myra began explaining the training grounds layout when a sudden shift in the room's energy prickled along my skin. Conversations faltered, heads turned. A faint hum coursed through the air as footsteps approached from the eastern corridor. He entered. Kieran Frost didn't need an introduction. The air carried authority the way fire carried heat. His height, the cut of his uniform, the faint silver threading through his dark hair, all unmistakable. But what captured everyone wasn't his presence. It was the nearly invisible tension in his posture, like someone who lived with a storm under his ribs. His gaze swept the room. Polite nods, bare interest, controlled, calculated. Until it reached me. His steps halted. The air thickened, and for a split second, a flicker of light shifted in his pupils, an involuntary, too-fast spark of silver that only an alpha lineage could produce. My breath caught in my lungs, not from awe, but from the cold weight of memory. My mother's voice whispering as she fastened my cloak years ago. "If an alpha ever looks at you like he knows you, turn away. Don't let him scent you." I lowered my chin, but it was too late. Kieran took a step toward us. Myra's eyebrows shot up. "What in the—" "Who's the newcomer?" he asked, voice even but edged. Not hostile, curious, a kind of curiosity that made instincts stir. Myra cleared her throat. "This is Ira, part of the Alliance exchange. She arrived this morning." He studied me, not rudely, intently, almost clinically. "You're not from any pack I recognize." My fingers curled inside my sleeves. Most people don't. His nostrils flared, barely noticeable unless you were watching for it. His jaw tensed, not out of anger, something else. As if something eased inside him and unsettled him at the same time. "What's your rank?" he asked. "I don't hold one," I replied. "Everyone holds one," he countered quietly. "Not me, not anymore." My wolf stayed silent in the back of my mind, a door firmly shut. Myra stepped in. "Kieran, she hasn't been assigned yet. She's under my supervision." "I'm aware." His tone softened a fraction. "I'd like her on tomorrow's training roster." The request wasn't a request. It was an order, even Myra heard it. "Is there a reason?" she asked. Kieran didn't look away from me. "Yes." He didn't elaborate, didn't need to. Something about my scent answered a question he'd been asking for a long time. My stomach tightened. I had come here to disappear. but the Alpha Heir had already marked me with his attention. The moment Kieran walked away, the hall's noise rushed back in, laughter, clinking glasses, boots scraping against the stone floor. Yet none of it landed right. Everything sounded distant, as if I were listening from underwater. Myra exhaled sharply. Well, that was interesting. I didn't do anything, I muttered. You breathed, she said. Apparently that's enough to get the heir's attention. Myra didn't pry further, which I appreciated. She only motioned for me to follow and led me through a side corridor that opened into a long balcony overlooking the training fields. Cold mountain air rolled in, carrying scents of fresh-cut grass and distant snow. My shoulders eased slightly. Open spaces were easier to process than crowded halls full of watching eyes. You need to understand something about this place, Myra said, leaning against the railing. Kieran isn't the type who fixates on people. He barely notices them. Good to know, I replied, though my tone came out flatter than intended. She glanced at me. He's dealing with things. That was a delicate way of describing the curse I'd heard whispers about even before arriving here. I'd expected an unstable heir, unpredictable at best, dangerous at worst. Not someone whose first reaction to me was steadiness, focus, almost relief. I shoved the thought aside. Dangerous roads always start with curiosity. Myra continued pointing out sections of the grounds, the sparring rings, the agility course, the archery range used by wolves who preferred human form in battle. Below us, trainees moved in synchronized sequences, shifting momentum with the kind of discipline only a strong alpha line could enforce. Frostfang prides itself on control, she said. Precision, duty, no one allowed to drift through the hierarchy. I traced a scar carved into the railing, claw marks, deep enough to warp the wood. What happens to wolves who don't fit neatly into ranks? Myra watched me, quiet for a long moment. Depends on why they don't fit. I didn't push. She didn't either. A bell rang somewhere deeper in the compound, signaling the start of another rotation. A group of apprentices hurried past behind us. One slowed, staring at me with a mixture of curiosity and something sharper. He gave a small snort. Another outsider, like we need more strays. Myra turned so fast her braid whipped the air. Keep walking, Devon. He lifted both hands in mock surrender, grin crooked and childish. I'm just saying. Walk. He obeyed this time, though his eyes lingered on me for a beat. When he disappeared down the stairs, Myra muttered something under her breath about arrogant pups and lack of manners. That normal here? I asked. Some wolves underestimate newcomers. Give it time. She paused. If anyone bothers you, you tell me. I nodded, though experience taught me not to rely on anyone else to fight my battles. Still, the offer landed somewhere unfamiliar in my chest. Before Myra could continue the tour, the balcony door swung open, and Rowan stepped out. His robes were travel-worn from the morning trek, and strands of silver hair clung to his temple. Despite looking tired, his eyes sharpened the moment they landed on me. Ira, he said, voice low, walk with me. Myra stiffened slightly. Everything all right? Fine, Rowan replied, though his tone left no room for questions. I followed him down the hallway, boots echoing against smooth stone. His silence pressed heavier than words. Only when we entered an empty council antechamber did he finally speak. What happened in the hall? I blinked. Nothing. Don't lie. His voice cracked, not with anger, but fear he tried to hide. I felt a shift in him from across the room. I wrapped my arms around myself. He smelled me, that's all. Rowan closed his eyes for a moment. That's exactly what I was afraid of. A pulse of unease climbed my spine. You told me this alliance would keep attention off me. It was supposed to. His expression tightened. As long as the Alpha line didn't scent you. Too late, I whispered. Rowan paced once, running a hand over his beard. You must keep your distance. Don't draw him in. Don't reveal anything about your past. And under no circumstances should you let him near your wolf. My wolf. Still locked behind a door I wasn't ready to open. He asked to put me on tomorrow's training roster, I said. Rowan froze. Then you need to be careful. If he keeps reacting to you, others will notice. The elders, the council. His voice softened painfully. You're not ready for that. A knot formed in my stomach. What do you want me to do? Stay small, he said. Blend in, let him lose interest. I wanted to tell him Kieran didn't look like someone who lost interest easily. Before I could answer, a howl echoed from the far fields, sharp, urgent. Rowan's head snapped toward the sound. That's the heir's wolf, he murmured. My pulse stirred. Whatever that howl meant. It was calling for me. Rowan moved toward the balcony doors, but I was already halfway down the corridor. The howl had carried something unusual, less command, more strain. Wolves didn't call like that unless something inside them slipped beyond their control. The cold air outside slapped my cheeks the moment I stepped onto the staircase. Warriors were converging on the eastern field, their movements sharp, disciplined. No panic, just readiness. Frostfang responded to trouble with the efficiency of a military unit. Ira, Myra jogged toward me, eyes narrowed. Don't wander off, not when he's... Another sound cut her off. A low, guttural rumble rolled across the open ground. Not loud, deep, a warning. Myra swore under her breath. He's shifting early. My steps faltered. I didn't want to be anywhere near an Alpha Heir losing control. Not when Rowan's warning still clung to me. Not when my own wolf stayed locked away, unable to defend either of us. But something in that rumble tugged at me. Not recognition, more like an unseen hand curling around my ribs. Kieran wasn't supposed to train today, Myra said, scanning the field. His condition flares without warning. Stay here, I mean it, Ira. She ran ahead to help the warriors, forming a loose perimeter. I stayed still for a moment, fingers tightening around the railing. From my vantage point, I could see the commotion breaking near the tree line. 2 wolves held defensive stances. A third, larger, darker, silver streaking the fur near the temples, paced in tight circles, body quivering as if fighting an unseen enemy. The cursed heir. His claws dug into the soil. His breaths came in ragged bursts, fogging the air. Warriors called out commands meant to ground him, but they bounced off him like pebbles hitting armor. He wasn't hearing anyone. Then, his head jerked in my direction. The world snapped into sharp focus. Every muscle in his massive form stilled. His nostrils lifted. Something inside him recognized something inside me, deeper than scent, deeper than sight. The wolf's agitation didn't vanish, but it shifted, channeled, narrowed. Straight at me. No, I whispered, stepping back. The air bolted. Warriors scrambled to block him, but he slipped between them with terrifying speed. They didn't attack, they couldn't. Hurting the air during a curse episode risked triggering a full berserk state. Their only job was to slow him. They failed. I turned and ran. Not far, just enough to break line of sight. My heart pounded against my ribs, not from fear of him harming me, but from the overwhelming pull at the center of my chest. Something inside me reacted to his approach like a dormant cord being yanked awake. I ducked behind the armory outbuilding, pressing a hand to the wall. I didn't do anything, I murmured. The ground trembled. A shadow loomed as the air rounded the corner. His wolf halted only a few feet away, chest heaving, claws trembling against the dirt. He wasn't attacking. He wasn't snarling. He was staring. The silver in his eyes churned like a storm trying to hold shape. His ears twitched once, as if listening for something only he could hear. I should have moved. I should have run again. Instead, I stayed frozen, breath unsteady. Kieran, I whispered, barely audible. The wolf's head dipped. Not submissive, not aggressive. Recognition. Footsteps pounded behind him. Myra, Rowan, several warriors racing to contain the situation. Rowan's voice reached me first, raw with urgency. Don't touch him. I hadn't moved, but Kieran's wolf took a slow step closer, nose lowering to the ground as if tracking a scent he'd been chasing for years. The moment stretched taut. Then the heir's legs buckled. He collapsed in a heavy, jarring thud, dust rising around him. His enormous body shuddered once before going still, unconscious, but breathing. Myra reached me first. "Did he hurt you?" "No," my voice came out quietly uneven. "He stopped." Rowan knelt beside the wolf, dread carved into his features. "This shouldn't be possible." Warriors lifted the heir carefully, preparing to carry him back to the medical wing. Even unconscious, his claws twitched slightly, like his body still searched for something it refused to release. Myra touched my arm gently. "You need to tell us if you recognized anything in his behavior." I didn't answer, because I had no explanation for what happened. Only one truth pulsed beneath my skin. He howled, and my body answered. The morning sun bled weak gold through the curtains, but it wasn't enough to wake the wolf inside Lucien. He lay half-turned on his mattress, one arm hanging off the side, breath steady, too steady. For an alpha, sleep was never this deep, never this still. His wolf should have stirred the moment dawn touched his skin. But it didn't. For the 100th time, Lucien reached inward, searching for the familiar rumble of his beast. A flicker, then nothing. A hollow, cold silence that crawled over his spine. "Rise," he commanded. "Wake up." But the wolf refused. A sharp knock came at the door. "Alpha," Rowan's voice, hesitant, nervous. The pack rarely disturbed him this early unless something was wrong. Lucien scrubbed both hands over his face. "Enter." Rowan stepped in, the beta's expression tightening the instant he scented the room. He always checked, always waited to feel the alpha's aura pulse out like a heartbeat. Nothing came. "Still nothing?" Rowan asked quietly. Lucien didn't bother replying. His silence was answer enough. Rowan exhaled, relief and fear mixing in his scent. "The elders are asking for you. They say the patrol reports need your decision before the council meeting tonight." Lucien clenched his jaw. He hated how the pack looked at him lately, not with reverence, but with questions, as if they could smell the weakness he was trying to bury. "I'll handle it," Lucien said, standing. But when he stood, something unexpected slammed into him, an echo of the same scent from last night. Sweet, forbidden. The scent that didn't belong in his world. It brushed his senses like a ghost, just enough to make his pulse surge. Rowan stiffened. "Alpha, you okay?" Lucien swallowed hard. "Did you smell that?" Rowan sniffed the air, confusion. "Smell what?" Lucien's heart pounded once, twice too loud. So he wasn't imagining it. That scent her scent. It was lingering in his mind again, warm and addictive, as if trying to drag him somewhere he shouldn't be willing to go. His wolf should have risen at the scent of a potential mate. It should have roared, clawed, demanded. But instead, silence. Every nerve in Lucien's body tightened. A wolf that won't rise. A scent only he can feel. Something was wrong. Very, very wrong. And deep down, Lucien feared he already knew the reason. Lucien forced the phantom sent out of his mind and strode to the bathroom, splashing cold water over his face. The shock did nothing to clear the heaviness settled inside his chest. A wolf without a pulse. An alpha without an alpha's fire. Unthinkable. He stared at his reflection, broad shoulders tense, jaw clenched, eyes darker than they should be. Behind him, Rowan lingered in the doorway, pretending not to watch him too closely. "You don't have to hover," Lucien said. Rowan didn't move. "I do. The pack can feel something's off. If I'm not by your side, they'll start asking questions I can't answer." Lucien exhaled sharply. Of course. Loyal, irritating Rowan, the beta who'd shielded him since they were boys. He grabbed a towel, wiping his face. Last night, she wasn't a hallucination. Rowan blinked. She. Lucien hesitated. Saying it out loud felt like admitting a weakness bigger than the dormant wolf inside him. "The girl from the forest. I caught her scent again." Rowan straightened. "Just now." Lucien nodded. "For a moment." "But I didn't smell anything," Rowan murmured. That's what bothers me. Lucian's fingers curled around the counter. A scent that only I can sense, a wolf that won't rise, and she's connected somehow. I can feel it. Rowan stepped forward, voice dropping. Lucian, you know what the elders would say if they heard that. Lucian did know. Unstable. Cursed. Marked by something unnatural. They would dissect him with rituals and tests until they found someone to replace him. I'm not telling the elders anything, Lucian growled. Not a word about her. Rowan nodded slowly. Fine, but then we need to figure this out ourselves before anyone else notices. Lucian already hated the answer forming in his mind. To understand the scent. To understand why his wolf stayed silent. There was only one place he needed to go. The old stone circle, he said quietly. Rowan paled. Lucian, that place is forbidden for a reason. No wolf goes there alone. I don't have a choice. You do. Wait for backup. My wolf is gone. Lucian's voice cracked like thunder. Tell me, Rowan, what backup do I even have right now? The room fell silent. And in that silence, the ghost scent brushed Lucian's senses again. Soft, warm, painfully sweet. Not fatting. Calling. Lucian's pulse hammered. He wasn't going to survive ignoring it much longer. The forest swallowed him in seconds. Lucian moved fast, too fast for a wolf who should have been weakened, but adrenaline burned through him, sharper than claws. Rowan followed close behind, muttering curses under his breath. You could have waited for the patrol to clear this route, Rowan hissed, ducking under a low branch. I don't need a babysitter. You don't have a wolf, Lucian. That means I'm your wolf until you get him back. Lucian shot him a glare, and Rowan wisely went silent. The deeper they went, the colder the air grew. Not winter cold, something older. Something that hummed against the skin like ancient breath. Lucian felt it long before they reached the clearing. The stone circle. Massive pillars of black, weathered stone erupted from the earth like broken teeth, each one carved with runes the pack didn't speak aloud anymore. Every alpha before him had forbidden their pups from coming here. It was power. It was history. It was danger. Rowan stopped at the edge. Lucian, if the elders sense your aura near this place. They won't, Lucian said. I barely have one left. He stepped inside the circle. The moment his foot touched the soil between the stones, the air shifted, rippling like a wave. Lucian inhaled sharply because the scent hit him again. Harder this time. Not faint. Not ghost-like. Real, close. So close his chest tightened painfully. Rowan flinched. Okay, I smelled something that time. Very faint, but what the hell is that? It's not wolf. Lucian swallowed. No, it is. It was warm, human, yet layered with something wild. Something ancient enough to stir the hairs on his arms despite his dead-silent wolf. The ground beneath the stones vibrated, a low hum like the growl of the earth itself. Lucian, Rowan whispered, we need to leave. Lucian shook his head. The scent was growing stronger, pulling him forward toward the center of the circle. And then, his knees buckled. A surge of invisible force crashed into him, dropping him to one hand. Rowan grabbed his shoulder, trying to steady him, but the wave pulsed again, deeper, harder, like something beneath the soil had woken up and recognized him. Lucian gasped as heat spread across his chest, right over his heart. A burn. No. A mark. Something ancient pressing itself into his skin. Rowan's eyes widened in horror. Lucian, your chest, your skin is glowing. Lucian clenched his teeth, breath ragged. The scent wrapped around him like a soft hand at his throat. Pulling, claiming. And somewhere deep inside him. In the hollow, where his wolf had been dead silent for days. A whisper stirred. One word. Broken, weak, but alive. Mate. Lucian's eyes flew open. No, he breathed. That can't be, she can't be my. But the mark stopped burning. The scent vanished. and the whisper went silent again, leaving Lucian on his knees in the center of the forbidden stones. With a truth he wasn't ready to face, the moon hung low when Lucian finally reached the estate, too low as if it had been waiting for him. He slowed near the back entrance, fingers brushing the faint heat still lingering over his chest. The mark had stopped glowing, but the skin there felt altered, sensitive, like a bruise pressed from the inside. Rowan trailed behind him, scanning the shadows with a hunter's wariness. "You're walking like someone punched your soul." Lucian didn't humor the joke. "If anyone asks, we were checking the south border." "They'll know it's a lie," Rowan muttered. "You look like you faced an ancient rune and lost." Lucian halted. "Say nothing." Rowan lifted his hands. "Fine, but this isn't going away, Lucian, you know that." Lucian ignored him and pushed open the side door. Warm hall light spilled over him, a sharp contrast to the cold thrum still echoing in his bones. He hadn't taken more than 3 steps inside when a voice cut through the corridor. "Lucian." Beta Thorn emerged from the dim end of the hallway. Broad-shouldered, silver-streaked hair, expression carved from stone. His senses were sharp enough to notice when a single leaf shifted wrong in the forest. Tonight, his gaze sharpened on Lucian with surgical precision. "You're late." Lucian held his posture steady. Patrol ran long. Thorn's stare dropped to Lucian's neck, then lower, to the center of his chest. Not the skin, but the way Lucian guarded it with his stance. "What happened out there?" Thorn asked quietly. Rowan opened his mouth. Lucian blocked him with a subtle step. "Minor disturbance near the ridgeline, nothing unusual." Thorn didn't blink. "Your aura is fractured, and your wolf, I can't feel him." Lucian felt something inside him stiffen. Not fear, more like anger pressed tight into a cold knot. "Since when do you monitor my aura?" "Since you started hiding things." Lucian felt the hallway stretch long between them, heavy with unspoken history. Thorn had been there the night Lucian first shifted as a boy, the night his late mother had stood behind him, whispering encouragement. Thorn had sworn he'd never let Lucian face the darker parts of the Alpha path alone. Tonight, Lucian didn't want that promise. "I'm fine," Lucian said, turning toward the stairs. Thorn moved, blocking him with surprising speed. "You're not." "I don't need a lecture." "This isn't a lecture," Thorn ground out. "It's a warning. Elders have already sensed the disruption. If they discover you're unstable before the claiming season." Lucian's jaw tightened. "I am not unstable." "Your wolf hasn't surfaced in 2 days." Lucian's fingers curled at his sides, nails pressing into his palms. Rowan cleared his throat, trying to diffuse the tension. "Maybe he just needs rest, the last few weeks." Thorn cut him off. "A prince heir without a wolf during the moon trials is a risk to the pack." Lucian shot him a sharp look. "I am a risk only to those who push too far." Thorn didn't back down. "If you don't fix this, the council will intervene." Lucian's heartbeat stumbled, once, then steadied with force. Council intervention meant evaluation, scrutiny, exposure. And if anyone learned what he felt in the stone circle. No, impossible. He shifted his weight, brushing past Thorn. "This conversation is over." Thorn didn't stop him this time, but his voice followed low and tense. "You can't outrun what's happening, Lucian." Lucian didn't answer. He climbed the stairs, muscles taut, vision narrowing as the scent from earlier flickered through his memory. Soft, wild, impossible. He forced a calm breath, though it scraped rough on the way out. "Mate." The whisper had been faint, but it hadn't been imagined. And tonight's confrontation had only sharpened the truth. If the council sensed even a hint of that connection, everything about the heir's future, his role, his strength, his right to ascend, would come under threat. Which meant one thing. He needed to find the girl behind that scent before they did. Before anyone did. Before his own wolf vanished for good, Lucian didn't stop climbing until he reached the top floor, his floor, where the halls were quieter, the air still carrying faint traces of cedar and old stone. The scent grounded him usually. Tonight it only reminded him of the emptiness inside his ribcage. His room waited at the end, door half open. Someone was inside. Lucian paused, listening. Not with a wolf's instinct, he didn't have that right now, but with the training drilled into him since childhood. The faint scrape of parchment, a soft exhale, a calm heartbeat. A familiar one. "Enter," Elder Myria called, her voice threading through the silence like smoke. Lucian stepped in. The elder sat near his window, cross-legged on the low bench, papers spread in her lap. Her silver hair coiled around her shoulders, catching moonlight in thin threads. She looked small, but her presence filled a room stronger than most alphas. She didn't lift her gaze. "You came back later than you should." Lucian leaned against the doorframe. "If Beta Thorn sent you to check on me." "He didn't." Her tone never softened, never sharpened. It was steady, unyielding. "I felt the disruption myself." His pulse kicked once. Myria finally looked up. Her eyes, cloudy with age yet sharp underneath, tracked him with unsettling precision. "You're carrying something foreign in your aura." Rowan had been worried. Thorn had been accusing. Myria, however, she observed. Lucian forced a neutral tone. "Foreign how?" "An imprint." She folded the papers, setting them aside with care. "Faint, but old, as if something touched your spirit and left a thumbprint." He held still, breath held hostage in his chest. "That's dramatic," he said quietly. "It's accurate." She studied him a moment longer. "And your wolf is hiding from it." Lucian felt the floor tilt, not physically, but in the way her words landed, piercing where he'd been trying not to look. "Hiding," he repeated. "Yes." He crossed to the dresser, needing movement. He pulled open a drawer at random, letting the sound of sliding would buy him a moment. Myria's voice drifted behind him. "When something ancient marks a wolf, one of two reactions follow. The wolf rises to meet it or retreats." His fingers tightened around the drawer's edge. "Mine didn't retreat," he muttered. "No," she agreed. "He fled." That word hit harder. Lucian shut the drawer slowly. "Why would he flee?" "Only one reason." Myria's tone dropped, almost reverent. He sensed something stronger than himself. Lucian turned toward her then, unable to hide the flicker in his expression. Myria caught it. "You know what touched you," she said. "I didn't say that." "You didn't need to." Her gaze dipped briefly to his chest, where the mark had burned hours earlier. Lucian felt heat rush to the surface of his skin, not from embarrassment but from the memory of it, searing, undeniable, intimate in a way he couldn't explain. Myria rose slowly. "The claiming moon is approaching. Any instability in the air will draw scrutiny." She stepped close enough that he could see the faint runes inked around her wrists, old magic, forbidden to most. If the council suspects a hidden bond, they will demand to see it. Lucian's jaw locked. "They won't find anything." "You're wrong." Myria touched two fingers lightly to the center of his chest, not skin, just the air above it. Yet he felt the pressure anyway. "Whatever marked you left a tether." Lucian tensed. A tether. Not a mate bond. Not yet. But the beginning of something that could expose him, before he understood what he was protecting. Myria let her hand fall. "You're standing on the edge of two paths, Lucian. One leads to your ascension." Her voice lowered. "The other leads to ruin." He held her gaze, steady and cold. "Which one am I on?" "That depends," she murmured, stepping past him toward the door. "On whether you seek the source of that tether or pretend it never found you." Her hand rested on the doorknob. "For your sake," she added, "choose quickly." And she left him alone, with the faint echo of the scent he still couldn't forget. The one that didn't belong to any wolf. Lucian didn't move for a long time after Elder Myria left. The room felt too still, as if even the walls were waiting for him to crack. He stood by the dresser with both hands braced on its edge, head bowed, trying to steady something inside him that refused to settle. A tether. Ancient. Foreign. growing stronger by the hour. He exhaled through his teeth, pushing off the dresser and striding to the window. The glass reflected his silhouette, broad shoulders, tense posture, eyes shadowed from a fight he wasn't winning. His wolf should have been there, packing, snarling, demanding answers. Instead, the emptiness inside him pulsed like a bruise. A soft knock broke the quiet. Lucian didn't turn. If this is about another lecture. It's not, Rowan's voice answered. Lucian let him in. Rowan stepped inside, hands shoved in his pockets, gaze flicking over Lucian's expression in one quick sweep. Thorn! Packing downstairs like someone insulted his ancestors. The elders feel off balance too. Whatever happened in that circle, you shook the pack's rhythm. Lucian's shoulders tightened. I didn't mean to. You don't have to mean it. You're the heir, your aura affects everything. Rowan walked closer, digging something out of his pocket. Here. Lucian glanced down. Rowan held out a small cloth pouch, tied with a black thread. A charm, Lucian asked. A precaution. Rowan rubbed the back of his neck. Keeps energy imprints from bleeding into the room. Thought it might help until your wolf resurfaces. Lucian hesitated, then took it. The pouch smelled faintly of iron shavings and moss, old witchcraft techniques guided by pack permission. Rowan must have asked Myria for it. You didn't have to do this, Lucian murmured. Rowan shrugged. You're my cousin, and the future Alpha, and frankly a disaster waiting to happen. It dragged out a quiet snort from Lucian. Rowan's face softened. Lucian, whatever marked you, does it feel dangerous? Lucian tightened his grip on the pouch. Not dangerous. Then what? Lucian paused. How did he explain a scent that unsettled him more than any enemy? A pull that felt like hands on his ribs. A whisper inside his hollow wolf space speaking a word that shouldn't exist yet. He turned to the window, instead of answering. Rowan watched him for a long beat. You're thinking too loud. Lucian kept his eyes on the tree line. The elders can't find out, not yet. You think they'd stop you from claiming the throne? They'd question if I should have it at all. Rowan's jaw tightened. Because of a scent. Because they'd assume it's a bond I can't control. Rowan stepped beside him, arms crossing. Then you need to track her. Lucian's breath stilled. Rowan continued, voice low. Whoever she is, wolf or not, you either confront the source or let the council pull it out of you their way. Lucian didn't like the image that conjured. He opened his palm, looking at the pouch again. Rowan smirked. That wasn't subtle, you already made up your mind. Lucian slid the pouch into a drawer, then grabbed his jacket. Rowan blinked. You're going now. If I wait, the tether gets stronger. And if Thorn notices you're gone again. Lucian turned toward the door. Then he can chase me. Rowan moved to block it. Where are you starting? Lucian brushed past him, eyes narrowing with focus for the first time in days. The stone circle, he said. She left a trace there. Rowan inhaled sharply. Lucian, it's almost dawn. Good, Lucian replied. Less pack movement. Rowan grabbed his sleeve. Then I'm coming. Lucian didn't argue. He didn't have the space to. They stepped into the hall, moving quickly, careful of creaking boards and sharp-eared guards. The air inside the estate felt thick, like the building sensed what he planned. Halfway down the stairs, Lucian paused, his mark flaring with a faint, warm pulse beneath his shirt. Subtle. Quick. Like a signal. Rowan noticed. What was that? Lucian lifted his head, gaze drawn toward the distant forest. She's closer than before. A dangerous certainty settled into his bones. And for the first time since his wolf vanished, Lucian felt something ignite beneath his skin. Not a shift. Not strength. Not power. Purpose. He pushed open the door to the night. The air wasn't running anymore. He was hunting. Dawn crawled over the tree line as Lucian and Rowan reached the southern ridge, the forest still holding the leftover chill of night. Pale light streaked through branches, catching on drifting mist. The air felt heavy, too heavy, as if it remembered what Lucian had done yesterday and wasn't ready to forgive him. Rowan scanned the ground ahead. No patrols yet. We have maybe 20 minutes before Thorn realizes you're not in your room. Lucian didn't slow. His boots cut through damp leaves, his senses stretched as far as his fractured aura allowed. He wasn't used to tracking without his wolf's instincts guiding the angles, the sense, the direction of the pull. But he didn't need instincts today. The tether tugged for him. Soft, steady, certain. It was faint, like a candle flickering behind thick fog, but each step sharpened it. His chest warmed with a muted throb, warning or invitation. He couldn't tell. Rowan jogged up beside him. "You're sure she came back this way?" "She left something in the circle," Lucian murmured. "I felt it." Rowan gave him a sidelong look. "That mark reacts to her." Lucian didn't deny it, and it's reacting again. Rowan let out a breath. Then we're close. They moved until the ground leveled into the clearing of the stone circle. The stones loomed against the dawn, their carved runes catching the weak sunlight like old scars. Lucian stepped inside, pulse tightening. The air shifted, the same low vibration he'd felt before, but softer this time, as if whatever ancient force lived beneath the soil was waiting. Watching. Rowan hung back at the edge. "Try not to collapse again. I can't drag you home twice." Lucian ignored the comment and approached the center of the circle. His chest heated once, quick and sharp. Then he smelled it. A thread of the same scent as yesterday. Wild, warm, human. But woven with something else today, fear. Not terror, but the quick-crushed kind that hangs on someone who's been running. Someone who isn't safe. Rowan stiffened. "I caught it too." Lucian knelt, pressing his hand to the earth. Cold soil, damp moss, and beneath it an echo, a pulse of energy faint as breath on glass. She'd been here. Recently. "Lucian," Rowan said carefully, "there's something else." Lucian stood. "What?" Rowan pointed to the tree line, behind the tallest stone. Tracks. Small, barefoot. Human stride, but not clumsy. Quick, cautious, practiced. Lucian's throat tightened. "She's not a villager." "No human from the settlement comes this deep," Rowan agreed. "And those prints, they're too controlled. Whoever made them knows how to move without being heard." Lucian followed the line of tracks with his gaze. They vanished into dense brush. He stepped toward them, and a growl cut through the clearing. Not wolf. Not animal. Rowan swore under his breath. Two figures emerged from the shadows, both dressed in the dark armor of the council guard, their elite enforcers. No insignia except a single red thread stitched across the right shoulder. The mark of blood law. Lucian's heart dropped. Rowan whispered, "Why are they here?" Council guards had no reason to patrol this far south, unless someone broke a law old enough to silence entire clans. One guard spoke first, voice cold as river stone. "Prince Lucian, we received reports of a disturbance in this location." Lucian straightened, masking every instinct screaming inside him. "A disturbance," he repeated lightly. "Strange, I've sensed nothing." The guard didn't blink. "We'll need to inspect the stones." Rowan stepped forward quickly. "The circle is restricted to elders and alpha blood. You can't walk in without." "We have authorization." The guard lifted a small ebony token etched with crimson runes. Rowan froze. Blood permits were issued only under one condition: a suspected violation of ancient law. Lucian's voice dropped. "What law?" The guard's gaze slid, past him to the center of the circle. "Unregistered magic," he answered. "An outsider entered this ground." Lucian's chest tightened around a single beat. They were hunting her. The guard continued. "If an unknown presence triggered these stones, the elders will demand an immediate retrieval." Rowan shot Lucian a sharp glance. Lucian kept his expression neutral. "If you found traces," the guard added, tone sharpening, "you will report them." Lucian felt the tether thrum once beneath his ribs, like a warning. He offered the guard a slow exhale. I found nothing. The guard studied him carefully, too carefully. Then, we'll conduct our own search. The two stepped past Rowan toward the stones. Rowan hissed under his breath, Lucian, this is bad. Lucian didn't answer. Because something else had just hit him. A flick of warmth under his sternum. A soft pull to the east. She was moving. Running. And if he didn't reach her first, the council guards would. Silence fell so sharply over the hall that even the torches seemed to burn quieter. Aaron did not blink. He stood in front of the elders, tall, rigid, boiling, but under the surface was something darker, something caged, something hurt. Elder Kalen watched him with narrow, knowing eyes. Elder Myrla's fingers tightened on her staff. Elder Dorian looked almost concerned. And then there was the girl, the Omega who shouldn't matter. Avery. She knelt on the cold floor, hands bound, breathing hard after being dragged before the council. Her cheek was bruised from where the guards hit her. Her gaze was lowered, but Aaron could feel her scent trembling through the air. Warm, soft, terrifying. His wolf pressed against his ribs again, desperate, aching, alive. A Maida wolf refuses, or cannot claim. The elders didn't understand that, couldn't understand it. Aaron's voice came out as a low, dangerous growl. Release her. Gasps rippled around the chamber. An Alpha Heir did not give orders to the elders, especially not for an Omega. Elder Kalen slammed his staff down. Stand down, Heir. This female is accused of trespassing into the sacred training grounds, a crime punishable by. Punishable by judgment, Elder Myrla corrected gently. But not yet guilt. Let the boy speak. Boy. Aaron nearly bared his teeth. She wasn't trespassing, he said, staring straight into the elder's eyes. She was dragged there by rogue movement near the border. I tracked the scent myself. Another half-truth. He had tracked her, yes. But because his wolf recognized something impossible. A scent he shouldn't know. A scent he shouldn't crave. A scent he couldn't ignore, no matter how hard he tried. Elder Kalen snorted. Convenient. Aaron stepped closer to Avery, shadows rippling behind him. If you want to accuse someone, accuse me. I brought her in. She is under my protection now. A murmur exploded through the hall. Protection. From the air. For an Omega. Avery finally lifted her head just enough to look at him. Those soft eyes, too innocent for this world, met his. And for a heartbeat, Aaron's chest tightened painfully. He had seen fear in people before. He had caused fear in people before. But Avery wasn't afraid of him. She was afraid for him. Why, he wondered, why does she look at me like I'm the one in danger? Elder Dorian cleared his throat. Aaron, you know the law. The heir cannot offer protection to an unregistered Omega, especially not one with unknown lineage. Aaron clenched his jaw hard enough to make the bone crack. I know the laws. Then you know, Elder Kalen said coldly, that to claim protection over her is to tie her fate to yours. Aaron didn't let him finish. Good. The chamber erupted. Aaron's declaration wasn't just bold, it was binding. Avery's breath hitched. She stared at him as if the world had tilted beneath her knees. Aaron, do, her voice trembled. Please don't do this because of me. But he wasn't doing this because of her. He was doing this because of the wolf tearing its way through his veins, howling one truth he didn't want to hear. Mine. Not yet. Not allowed. Not possible. But the instinct was there, furious and awakening. Elder Kalen's eyes flashed with fury. This is madness, he spat. The heir cannot bind himself. He already has, Elder Myrla said softly. His wolf has chosen, whether he admits it or not. Aaron felt as though the ground had been ripped open beneath him. Avery's lips parted, shock and fear mixing. Chosen? No, he doesn't even like me, he. Her voice broke. Aaron looked away, unable to meet the truth of her words. He didn't like her. He didn't want her. He wanted to reject the feeling clawing inside him. Reject the bond. Reject fate. But laws written in blood didn't care what he wanted. And neither did the elders. Elder Kalen raised his staff high, voice echoing like thunder. Then let the verdict be declared. The Omega shall remain under the heir's custody until the truth is determined. Her fate bound to his. And any harm she suffers will be counted against him. Aaron's blood ran cold. And Avery whispered, barely audible, "You just doomed yourself." But Aaron couldn't answer. Because deep inside, his wolf was finally awake. And it was smiling. Aaron didn't move until the elders dismissed the hall. He stood there, jaw clenched, pulse thundering, every muscle coiled too tight as packsmen whispered behind him, fearful, curious, scandalized. Avery still knelt on the floor, hands shaking slightly from the cold or from the weight of what had just happened. The guards hesitated near her, unsure if they were still allowed to touch her now that she was under the heir's custody. Aaron finally snapped, "Don't touch her." The guards froze. Avery flinched as he approached, but she didn't pull away. She only looked small, exhausted, confused. Her hair fell over her face as she struggled to stand. Aaron's hands were already there, steadying her elbow. Her skin was too warm. His hand lingered too long. Avery whispered, barely audible, "You shouldn't have done that." He inhaled sharply, hearing her voice so close it almost hurt. Her scent skated through his veins again, soft, honeyed, threaded with fear. His wolf prowled inside him, packing, restless. "Let's go," he said quietly, too quietly for an Alpha Heir. "We're done here." But the moment they stepped out of the council hall, Elder Kalen's voice stabbed through the air. "Aaron." He stopped. Cold authority weighed down on his shoulders before the elder even spoke again. "You think you can protect her," Kalen sneered. "You can't even control your wolf." Aaron turned, eyes sharp. "My control isn't your concern." "Oh, but it is," Kalen said. "The moment you tied her fate to yours, you made it everyone's concern. The pack depends on the strength of its heir. And yours," his gaze slid to Avery like she was dirt beneath his boots, "is compromised." Avery visibly shrank back, gripping her own arm. Aaron saw it. He hated it. His voice dropped low, dangerous. "If you have something to say it to me, not her." Kalen smiled without warmth. "Very well, I'll say it clearly. An Omega with an unknown lineage is a liability. Your father won't tolerate this, and neither will the pack." Avery swallowed hard, staring at the floor. Aaron's hands curled into fists. "I'll handle my father." Kalen's smile sharpened. "You will, heir, or she will face the consequences." Aaron's wolf lunged inside him. A violent, possessive surge he almost couldn't cage. He stepped forward, voice dropping to a soft threat. "If anything happens to her, anything, I'll hold you personally." Avery grabbed his wrist. "Hey, Aaron," she whispered urgently. "Stop, please. You can't talk like that to the elders." Her touch grounded him, so fast it made him dizzy. His wolf froze. Aaron stared down at her hand on his wrist, small and warm. He shouldn't like it. He shouldn't feel anything at all. But he did. Damn it, he did. Kalen watched the interaction with a dark satisfaction. "See, already you're losing your judgment." Aaron's teeth grit so hard he felt the crack. Avery gently pulled him back. "Let it go," she murmured. "I'm not worth fighting them." He turned sharply toward her. "Don't say that. I'm just an Omega." "You're under my protection now," he said, harsher than intended. "Which means they don't get to decide your worth." Avery stared at him as if she didn't understand him. Or perhaps she understood all too well. Kalen waved his hand dismissively. "Take her and go. The pack will expect an explanation soon enough. And your father," he smirked, "he'll demand one." Aaron didn't want to think about that. Outside the hall, cold night air rushed into Aaron's lungs the moment they stepped outside. He felt like he had been drowning inside that hall. Avery walked a step behind him, silent, hugging her arms against her chest. He slowed down without realizing he was doing it, adjusting his pace to hers. She finally spoke, quiet, painfully honest. "You should leave me somewhere safe and walk away from this, before it ruins everything for you." Aaron didn't answer. Not until he stopped walking. Not until he turned and looked directly at her. Her eyes widened at the intensity in his gaze, but he didn't soften it. "You think I did all that because I had a choice?" he asked. Avery blinked. "What do you mean?" Aaron stepped closer. Close enough that her breath hitched. Close enough that their scents mingled too easily. "My wolf." His jaw tightened. He hadn't wanted to admit this, not to the elders, not to himself. "Reacted to you." Avery's eyes went huge. Aaron." "It shouldn't have," he cut in. "I don't want it to, I don't understand it." His voice dropped rough, "But I can't ignore it." Avery stared at him, shocked, terrified, helpless. "Aaron, what are you saying?" He looked away, breathing hard as he forced the words out. "I'm saying the laws aren't the only chains anymore." Avery swallowed. "And what am I to you now?" Aaron opened his mouth. But no answer came. Because even he didn't know yet. Every time she closed her eyes, the elders' cold stares flashed behind her eyelids, the way they had looked at her like she was a stain on the floor. She curled deeper under the blanket, trying to breathe past the knot in her throat. This wasn't her room. Aaron had brought her to one of the guest lodges on the outer ridge, neutral ground, quiet, far from curious eyes, far from the heir's responsibility. Yet she could still feel the weight of his hand on her wrist from last night, steady, firm, too gentle for someone raised to command. She shouldn't think about that. She sat up, wincing when the old ache flared along her left shoulder blade, an ache she'd learned to hide so well that even her wolf hardly reacted anymore. The scar beneath her skin throbbed like it remembered something she didn't. Or maybe something she wasn't allowed to remember. A soft knock broke the quiet. "Avery!" Aaron's voice carried through the wood, low, restrained, like he was trying not to push her. Her fingers instantly tightened in her blanket. "I'm coming," she answered, hoping her voice didn't betray how raw she felt. The door opened, just enough for him to step inside. Aaron looked nothing like the heir the pack bowed to, no polished posture, no cold distance. His hair was still damp from a rushed morning wash, shirt half-buttoned, eyes shadowed from a night he clearly hadn't slept through either. His gaze swept over her, and something in his shoulders loosened. "You're awake," he murmured, relief slipping through the cracks before he caught it. Avery tugged her blanket tighter. "You didn't have to check on me." "I did." The answer was too fast, too real. Avery looked away, heat stinging her cheeks. Aaron exhaled through his nose, stepping further in. His scent drifted first, clean pine, winter air, the faint metallic edge of a wolf holding too many thoughts. He stopped a few steps from her, as if crossing that last distance was dangerous. "Elder Kalen is already stirring up the council," he said quietly. "He's using last night to convince them you're some kind of threat." Avery's fingers curled. "I never asked you to put yourself in the middle." "You were already in the middle," Aaron shot back. "I just stepped in before they did something worse." His tone softened immediately after, as if he regretted letting the frustration slip. Avery swallowed. "I know you're trying to help. But the elders are right about one thing. You shouldn't be dragged into my mess." Aaron's jaw flexed, not the earlier controlled clench, but a flash of something rower. "You keep saying that," he muttered, "like your life is a burden I picked up by accident." Avery's throat tightened. "Isn't it?" Something flickered in his eyes, hurt, sharp, quickly swallowed. He took a single step toward her. "No." The word vibrated in the quiet room. He didn't look away from her, didn't blink, just stood there, breathing hard like he was holding back the truth pressing against his teeth. Avery shifted under the blanket, trying to hide the dull burn in her shoulder. She moved too fast. Aaron noticed. His brow tightened. "You're hurt." "It's nothing," she said quickly. "Old bruise." "You're lying." His voice wasn't harsh. It was too careful, too knowing. He moved closer, stopping at the edge of her bed. "Avery," he said quietly, "let me see." She froze. "No." "Avery." She shook her head, gripping the blanket like armor. "Please just leave it." Aaron sighed beneath his breath, not frustrated, pained. "You're hiding something," he said softly, "and it's hurting you." Avery blinked rapidly. Her chest felt tight, breath uneven. "I don't want you to look at me differently," she whispered. He crouched beside her, lowering himself until they were almost eye level. "Avery," he murmured, "nothing you show me would make me turn away." Her resolve wavered. Just a little. His gaze held hers, steady, grounding, warm in the places she felt coldest. "Let me help." Her hand trembled as she loosened the blanket from her shoulder. Slowly, painfully, she pulled the fabric down. Aaron's breath caught. Not in disgust. Not in horror. In shock. A mark, faint but unmistakable, rested beneath her skin, stretching from her shoulder blade down toward her spine. A sigil woven into flesh, old as bone, glowing faintly beneath the surface like embers waiting to wake. The symbol no Omega should ever carry. Avery bowed her head, voice barely a tremor. "This is why the council would kill me. And why I can't stay here." Aaron didn't breathe for a long moment. Then, "Who did this to you?" Not gentle. Not soft. Predatory. A wolf's promise and a man's fury woven together. Avery hugged her arms around herself. I don't know." Aaron rose slowly, like a storm gathering its shape. "You will," he said, voice low and deadly, "because I'm going to find out." And for the first time, since the mark burned into her skin years ago, Avery wasn't sure if she should be more afraid of the ones who put it there, or the heir who had just sworn, wordlessly, to tear them apart. Avery didn't notice the world falling quiet around them. All she heard was the ragged thrum of her own breath, as Aaron's glove dropped to the forest floor, forgotten. He reached for her forearm again, slowly this time, as if afraid she'd shatter beneath his touch. His fingers brushed the edge of the scar. Avery jerked back on instinct. Pain flashed through her, not from the wound, but from being seen. Truly seen. "I didn't mean to startle you," Aaron said, voice low, steady, too gentle for someone raised to command armies. "Let me look." "I'm fine," she lied. The lie tasted like damp ash. Aaron didn't move. "Avery, your scent changed the second I touched it." Her pulse stumbled. Of course he'd noticed. His senses were too sharp, too in tune with her for reasons she still couldn't explain. Her wolfless body shouldn't have triggered anything in him. She wasn't supposed to affect an heir. Her voice came out thin. "It's nothing important." But Aaron stepped closer anyway, just enough to make the air between them tighten. "That's not nothing." His eyes flicked over the scar again. "Who marked you?" She wrapped her arms around herself. "It wasn't a mark, it was an accident." "No," he muttered, almost to himself. "That shape, that's deliberate. I've seen something like it in the Elder's archives." Avery's breath hitched. Not again. Not that word. Her skin prickled with a cold sensation, like invisible claws tracing old memories. Please don't talk about archives. I don't want to remember." Aaron's gaze snapped to her face. He wasn't trained to deal with panic, but something in him responded anyway. He stepped closer, blocking the wind, lowering his voice until it vibrated warm and steady. "You're safe. No one's touching you again, not while I'm here." She turned away, searching for calm she didn't truly feel. The trees leaned close, their branches whispering as wind threaded through them. The scents of pine, damp bark, and Aaron's warm breath curled around her like an unwanted comfort. You think safety follows you everywhere, she said quietly. It doesn't, not for Omegas. Aaron almost reached for her shoulder but stopped himself. You're not just an Omega. That's what the elders call me. That's not what I see. Avery exhaled shakily. Then what do you see? Aaron looked at her for a long moment, too long, like he was searching for something that kept slipping from his grasp. I see someone trying to disappear, and I hate that I can't stop looking. Avery's chest went tight. A confession. Not romantic. No, he wasn't even close to admitting anything like that. But real, raw, dangerous. She didn't know what to do with it. He crouched beside her then, lifting her arm again, slower this time. She let him, though her heart kicked hard beneath her ribs. Aaron brushed the scar with the back of his knuckles. A tremor shot up her spine. This isn't pack-made, he murmured, his brows pulled together. It's older, almost ritual. Avery's legs nearly gave out. Her voice rasped. Stop. Aaron did. Instantly. He pulled back as if she'd burned him, hands raised. Okay, his breath fogged in the cool air. I'm done, we don't have to talk about the scar. But she shook her head. It's not just the scar. Something in his expression shifted. Avery, he said softly, what happened to you? Her eyes stung despite her best efforts. If I tell you, you'll wish you never saw me. Aaron's jaw tightened. Not in anger, no, something else, something heavier. Try me. Avery swallowed hard. Her throat felt too small for the truth. She looked down at her arm, at the mark that survived fire, claws, and time itself. Her voice broke. I shouldn't be alive. Aaron went still. The wind died. Avery didn't speak the entire walk back to the heir's manor. Not a word. Not even a quiet breath of protest. She just kept one hand pressed to the base of her throat, fingers curled over the strange ache hiding beneath her skin, as if she feared it might pulse again. Aaron noticed. Of course he noticed. Her steps were uneven, her shoulders stiff. Her scent, normally faint and careful, kept slipping into sharp bursts of panic she tried hard to mask. The moment they reached the courtyard, Aaron stopped so abruptly, she nearly bumped into him. Let me see it. Avery froze. See what? You know what? His tone left no room for misunderstanding. Avery's hand clamped tighter around her collarbone. She looked around as if the dark might sprout ears. Aaron, not out here. He didn't like the way her voice thinned. He didn't like how her heartbeat stuttered in rhythm with her fear. So he turned without another word and led her inside. Inside the heir's quarters. The door clicked shut behind them. Avery stood in the center of the room like a cornered deer, breathing too shallowly while the warm lantern light brushed over her face. Her hair still carried the scent of the forest from earlier, a soft reminder that she'd always been more comfortable in the trees than in stone walls. Aaron stepped closer. Avery, he said quietly, I need to know what's happening to you. You already think I'm some kind of threat, her voice wavered. If I show you, it'll only. No. He cut her off gently, but his voice remained firm. You're under my protection. That doesn't change because something scares you. She looked up at him then, really looked. There was something raw in her eyes, something that asked whether she could trust him with the one thing she'd guarded her entire life. Finally, her fingers loosened. Slowly, hesitantly, she tugged the collar of her shirt to the side. Aaron's breath left him. Not because the mark was beautiful, but because it shouldn't exist. A small symbol, barely the size of a thumbprint, glowed faintly beneath her skin. Not permanent like a claiming mark, but alive, moving almost like ink trying to settle. Avery flinched when it brightened. I don't know what it is, her voice cracked. I didn't have it before tonight. Aaron's wolf lunged to the surface, not with aggression, but recognition. Terrifying recognition. This mark, he whispered, stepping closer as his eyes tracked the shifting light beneath her skin. It reacts when I'm near. Avery backed away. That's not my fault. I didn't say it was. Her breath hitched. Then what are you going? Aaron didn't answer immediately. He was too busy fighting the storm inside his chest. His wolf wanted to bow its head. His wolf wanted to bare its throat. His wolf wanted her close, close enough that nothing in the world could separate them. Which made no sense. Avery, Aaron steadied his voice, this isn't a curse, and it isn't a usual mate reaction either. Her eyebrows pulled together. Then what? He hesitated. The truth tasted dangerous. Forbidden. Half-formed. There's a kind of mark the elders fear more than any curse, he said slowly. It's called a dormant bond. Wolves aren't supposed to have them anymore. Avery bit her lip. Dormant bond. It's a connection that shouldn't activate unless something triggers it. Trauma, power, bloodline, I don't know yet. His throat tightened. But whatever it is, it chose you. Avery's knees nearly buckled. She grabbed the edge of the table just to stay upright. Aaron, please, she whispered. Don't say things that could destroy my life. He stepped toward her. I'm not trying to destroy anything, he said. His voice had softened without permission. But I won't lie to you either. Avery stared at him, chest rising and falling too quickly. Her voice trembled when she finally spoke. What if the elders see this? Aaron didn't blink. They won't. And if they do? They won't. His voice sharpened, something primal slipping through. No one touches you. No one decides what happens to you. I won't allow it. Avery's breath faltered. The glow beneath her skin pulsed gently, almost in response to his words. Aaron felt it like a tug beneath his ribs. Her scent swelled in the space between them. Fear, yes, but also confusion, curiosity, something warm hiding beneath the trembling edges. Aaron, Avery whispered, why are you acting like this? He stepped closer. Not touching her, but close enough that she felt the heat of him. Because whatever that mark is, he murmured, it links you to me, and I don't ignore the things that are mine to protect. Avery closed her eyes for one brief second, as if bracing for impact. When she opened them, they shimmered with a truth she hadn't wanted to face. What happens now? Aaron leaned in, voice dropping low. Now. He glanced toward the door, where distant footsteps echoed through the hall, elders moving, guards shifting positions, the entire mansion more awake than usual. Now everything gets harder. And as if the world intended to prove him right. A heavy knock slammed against his door. Aaron. His father's voice thundered through the wood. Avery went pale. Aaron stepped in front of her instantly, shoulders squared, wolf snapping to alert beneath his skin. The mark beneath Avery's throat sparked. As if sensing danger, he'd spent the night standing at the window of the guest house he'd locked Avery inside, for her safety, not because he trusted himself to stay rational if anyone came near her, while that strange mark pulsed beneath her skin. His wolf had been packing for hours, claws scraping the edges of his control. Every time Avery shifted in her sleep, the faintest sound traveled through the walls straight into his bones. Now, with dawn crawling over the rooftops, Aaron stood outside her door. He didn't knock. He didn't have to. Avery was already awake. He heard her heartbeat the moment he raised his hand, steady at first, and then stumbling when she smelled him through the wood. Aaron, her voice drifted faintly. The sound tugged at him in a way he hated. In a way he wasn't ready to admit. He pushed the door open. Avery sat on the edge of the bed, hair a tangled halo, blankets wrapped around her legs as if she needed them to stay anchored. The faint glow beneath her collarbone had faded to a shadow, but he could still sense it, like a whisper under her skin. She kept her hands tight in her lap, as though afraid to touch herself and find the mark still there. Aaron stepped inside. Avery's shoulders stiffened, a tiny, involuntary reaction she tried to hide. He noticed everything. Did it hurt again during the night? He asked. She shook her head, though her eyes betrayed her. Subtle glassiness, the kind people wore after waking from a nightmare they didn't want to speak aloud. "It's quiet now," she murmured. "I don't know what it wants." The words pressed against him, harder than they should. "It's not supposed to be there," Aaron said, moving closer. "Marks don't appear without intent." Avery tensed. "Whose intent? Yours." The accusation wasn't sharp, just frightened. And that was worse. Aaron's jaw flexed. "If I'd marked you, you wouldn't be able to stand this far from me." Avery's breath caught. He instantly regretted saying it. His wolf didn't. It surged forward, thrilled by the image, her against him, neck exposed, their scents tangled. He forced the thought back like slamming a door shut. Avery pulled the blanket tighter around herself. "Then, what happened to me?" Aaron sat down on the chair across from her. He didn't reach for her, didn't allow himself even that small danger. "Someone did something to you long before you came to us," he said quietly. "The elders didn't recognize the mark's origin because it's not from any of our packs." Avery swallowed hard, fingers tightening around the blanket. "So now I'm some kind of threat." "You're not a threat. Kalen thinks I am." "Kalen thinks everything he can't control is a threat," Aaron snapped, then softer. "Don't give his opinion that much weight." She looked at him then, really looked, as if trying to see whether he meant it, whether he could be trusted at all. But before she could speak, she winced and brought her hand to her shoulder. Aaron shot forward so fast it startled her. "What happened?" "It's nothing, just a pinch." Her voice trembled at the edges. Aaron wasn't convinced. He brushed her hand aside, not rough but firm, and examined her shoulder. The mark wasn't glowing. No heat beneath the skin, no scent of magic or burned energy. Yet her body reacted, as if something invisible tugged inside her. Avery stared at him while he looked. Not at his hands. At him. Something about that did dangerous things to his pulse. He withdrew his hand before he did something reckless, like let his wolf slip closer. "You need to stay near me today," he said. Avery blinked. "Why?" "Because the mark responded to me yesterday, and until we understand why, we don't risk distance." Her breath hitched. "That sounds like I'm chained to you." His gaze lowered, just slightly, to where the faint outline of her mark hid beneath her collar. "You're not chained," he said, voice rougher than intended. "But you are bound." Avery whispered, "Without permission." Aaron didn't argue. Because she was right. And the truth burned. "Get dressed," he said softly. "The elders want answers, and I want to know who touched you before you ever reached this territory." Avery's fingers trembled over the blanket, her voice barely steady. "And what if I don't want to know?" Aaron paused at the doorway. "You should," he said without turning, "because whoever did this isn't finished." Her heartbeat stumbled again. Fear, disbelief, something else. Something that made his wolf bare its teeth. He exhaled, grounding himself. "This time," he added, "they'll have to go through me." Aaron didn't trust himself to speak until they were off the main path and hidden behind the line of tall pines. The forest swallowed sound, leaving only the low rustle of branches and Avery's uneven breaths behind him. She kept her distance, 5 steps, maybe 6, like she still wasn't sure if walking beside him was allowed. Or safe. Aaron stopped. Avery nearly bumped into him, skidding to a startled halt. Her shoes scraped against the cold earth, and she steadied herself against a tree. Her eyes lifted slowly. Careful. Wary. Expecting something he wasn't sure he could give. "What happened back there?" she whispered. "At the cabin with your wolf." She swallowed hard. "You didn't mean to pull mine forward, I know that." A strange heat slid beneath Aaron's skin, crawling up the back of his neck. "My wolf didn't pull yours," he said. "He reacted, there's a difference." Avery hugged her arms tighter. It felt like a command. Aaron flinched. Her honesty hit harder than any elder's judgment. He dragged a hand through his hair, packing once, twice, feeling his wolf packing with him. He shouldn't be responding to you at all, Aaron said through his teeth. You're not. He cut himself off. Not what? Not supposed to matter. Not someone the heir's wolf should acknowledge. Avery's gaze lowered, her voice thread-thin. You don't have to soften it, I'm not your mate. A strange pulse slammed through Aaron's chest, sharp, unwanted, almost panicked. No, he forced out, you're not. Avery nodded like she'd expected that, like it confirmed what she'd already been telling herself. But Aaron felt something coil cold and tight inside him. He didn't like the taste of that agreement. Not one damn bit. Avery looked away first. Then your wolf shouldn't react to me like that. Aaron stepped toward her, instinct pushing ahead of thought. My wolf reacts because you're hiding something. Her breath hitched, not fear, but something closer to a flinch. A crack in her calm. Aaron felt it. He watched her fingers tighten on her sleeve. I'm not hiding anything. That's a lie, he said quietly. Avery's eyes snapped up. Not with anger. With the shock of someone who had hoped, prayed, he wouldn't notice. Aaron's voice softened, barely above a breath. Whenever your wolf stirs, your scent shifts, like something inside you is waking up. Her throat bobbed. The wind carried her scent again, warm, faintly sweet, threaded with a metallic undertone he couldn't name. Avery, he said, stepping even closer. Your wolf isn't dormant, she's suppressed. Her pulse jumped, he heard it. She took a slow step back. Aaron, please don't. Don't what? Don't make this real. He stared at her, breath catching in his chest. Tell me what you're afraid of. Her fingertips curled against her sleeves. Of being seen. Aaron's wolf stilled. Silence spread between them, heavy, charged, dangerous in its honesty. Avery blinked fast, as if holding back memories she refused to let slip. He reached out slow, deliberate, and touched her wrist. You were never invisible, not to me. Her breath shivered, and something small, fragile, painfully unguarded shifted in her expression. Then, a sharp crack of a branch snapped the moment apart. Aaron's head whipped toward the sound, instincts primed. Avery stiffened beside him. Beta Rowan stepped out from the shadows, hands raised. Easy, air, Rowan said with a half grimace. I called your name twice, you didn't hear. Aaron exhaled tightly, but didn't release Avery's wrist. Rowan's eyes flicked between them, his brows pulling together. His voice dropped. Aaron, the elders know. Avery went still. Aaron's grip tightened before he forced himself to let go. Rowan stepped closer, urgency threading his voice. They know her wolf surfaced. They know your wolf responded, and they're calling an emergency council meeting at dawn. Avery's breathing stuttered. They want her tested, Rowan finished. Aaron swore under his breath. Absolutely not. Rowan shook his head. This isn't a request. Elder Kalen said if she refuses. Avery's voice broke quietly. What happens to me? Rowan hesitated. Aaron answered for him. His voice came out low, lethal. They'll treat it as concealment. Avery stared at him, fear sliding like ice beneath her skin. Rowan looked between them again, eyes dark. You need a plan, both of you. Aaron didn't look away from Avery. We won't let them touch you. Avery whispered, you can't promise that. Aaron took a slow step toward her. I just did. And his wolf surged in ruthless agreement. Avery didn't breathe for a moment. The Alpha's guest house was quiet, too quiet. No guards, no council eyes. Only the soft hum of night pressing against the windows and the faint scent of pine drifting through the open door. Aaron stood with his back to her. His shoulders were tense, posture too still, like he was fighting something that wasn't going down easily. His wolf's presence pulsed against the air, unsettled, restless, circling like it had torn open the inside of him. Avery shut the door quietly. A latch clicked. Aaron flinched. Not visibly. Just a flicker, a subtle tightening of his stance that told her his control was hanging by threads. She took a step closer, "Aaron, look at me." He didn't. His voice was low, uneven. "I shouldn't be near you right now." "If you wanted me gone," she whispered, "you wouldn't have brought me here." Silence. Not calm. Not safe. Charged. Aaron exhaled through his nose, a slow, controlled release, as if he were trying to staunch a wound with breath alone. "Earlier," he said, voice hoarse, "when the bond surged, my wolf." He stopped, jaw flexing. It wasn't supposed to react like that. Avery stepped beside him, keeping enough space not to corner him, enough space to breathe. Still, she felt the heat from his body, sharp, overwhelming, not entirely human. Her pulse kicked up. Aaron dragged a hand through his hair. "I lost control. You shouldn't have seen that." "But I did," her voice softened, "and I'm still here." His eyes flicked toward her, just a glance, but it struck her like a spark. His irises carried that threaded amber glow that belonged only to his wolf, burning under the surface. "What if I hurt you?" he asked. "You didn't." "Not this time." The honesty cracked something inside her. "Aaron, I'm not afraid of you." He made a rough sound, almost a laugh, but too pained. "You should be." Avery stepped closer before she could think better of it. This time he didn't step away. His breath hitched, quiet, barely there, but she heard it, felt it. The space between them shrank as his control slid dangerously thin. Her hand lifted, trembling only a little, and brushed the fabric near his forearm, just enough to touch, not enough to claim. Aaron went still, utterly still. "Avery," he warned. "I'm not trying to provoke your wolf," her voice steadied. "I'm trying to understand what's happening to us." He turned his head finally, slow, deliberate, like the movement cost him something. His gaze locked on where her fingers barely touched his sleeve, then climbed to her face. Every line of him tightened. "You're making it worse," he said. "Then tell me how to make it better." Aaron took her wrist gently, too gently, considering how fast his pulse was running. His thumb rested against her skin, warm and careful, as if he feared the mark beneath it might react again. "This," he murmured, staring at the place the bond had flared, "this changes everything." Avery felt the faint echo under her skin again. Not pain, not heat, something else, like a whisper she couldn't quite hear. "What is it?" she asked. He didn't answer immediately. His fingers traced lightly over the spot, searching, testing, almost reverent. Her breath stuttered at the contact, but she didn't pull back. Aaron's voice was barely above a whisper. "It's reacting to me, and that shouldn't be possible unless..." He stopped. Fear, real, sharp fear, crossed his features for the first time since she met him. Avery's heartbeat stumbled. Unless what? Aaron stepped back suddenly, dropping her wrist as if it burned him. His inner wolf surged again. She felt it roll through the air. Not violent, not dangerous. Drawn. Drawn to her. He braced a hand on the table, head bowed. "Aaron." "Don't come closer." His voice cracked, raw with restraint. "I can't, not when it's pulling this hard." Avery swallowed, feeling her own confusion twist into something heavier. "Did your wolf do something to me? Is that why my skin reacts?" "No," Aaron's teeth clenched. "That's the problem. I didn't do anything." Avery froze. Aaron lifted his gaze slowly, and she saw the truth swirling in his eyes. Fear, instinct, longing, conflict he didn't know how to name. "It wasn't me," he breathed. "It was the bond." A chill crawled down Avery's spine. "What bond?" she asked. Aaron straightened, breath unsteady. "The one forming between us without permission." Her throat tightened. "Aaron, that's impossible. We're not." "Don't say it," he cut in. "Not unless you're certain." "But we can't be." "Avery." His voice dropped, low and shaken. "My wolf thinks you're his." Her mouth parted. No words, only a stunned inhale. Aaron stepped back again, desperate for space, desperate for control. "I don't want this," he said quietly. "Not like this, not without choice." The painful honesty in his voice made her chest tighten. Aaron. He met her eyes, raw, exposed, terrified of the answer she might give. I need to know, he whispered. Did something happen to you before you entered our territory? Any magic, any curse, anything that touches bonds? Avery's breath faltered. The memory stabbed her. A cold hand on her neck. A whisper she didn't understand. A mark she didn't remember receiving. Aaron saw the shift in her expression. Avery, his voice sharpened. Something did happen. She looked down, clutching her arm. It was the night before I reached your borders. I don't know what it was. His wolf surged. Aaron moved forward so fast she gasped. Not grabbing her. Not towering over her. Just standing close enough that she could feel the tremor in his breath. Tell me, he said. Tell me everything. Her voice shook. It touched the back of my neck, and then I woke up with. She hesitated. A mark I didn't have before. Aaron stared at her. Then his voice dropped to something dark and certain. Show me. Avery hesitated. But something in his eyes, fear, need, protectiveness, made her turn, brushing her hair aside. Aaron stepped closer, slowly, carefully, as if approaching something sacred and dangerous. And when he saw the mark, he inhaled sharply. His wolf rose with a snarl she felt in her bones. Avery, he whispered, shaken to his core. This isn't a mark. His fingers hovered just shy of touching it. This is a claim. Avery's knees nearly gave out. A claim, she breathed. By who? Aaron's throat worked. Not who. His gaze lifted to hers, stunned and terrified. What? Avery's blood ran cold. Then what claimed me? Aaron swallowed hard, voice rough. A prophecy-born tether, he said. A cursed bond. And it's tying itself to me, Avery whispered. Through you. Aaron closed his eyes. Not just through me. He opened them again, and the gold of his wolf burned bright. It's choosing us. Didn't remember falling asleep. One moment she was curled on the edge of Aaron's bed, still tense from the argument he'd dragged her out of, and the next, a low growl slid into her dreams, pulling her upward like a hand on her spine. Not a threat. A calling. Avery's eyes snapped open. The room was dark, lit only by the faint amber glow of the ward lantern near the door. Aaron wasn't inside. His scent lingered, stormy and fierce, but his presence was missing. Another growl rippled through the silence. Her breath stilled. It came from outside, too close, too familiar. Avery pushed off the bed, bare feet brushing cold wooden floorboards. Her fingers skimmed the wall as she stepped into the hallway. The house slept, Beta Rowan's old manor, creaking with age, holding its breath like something ancient was listening. She reached the stair landing. The growl came again. Deeper, almost shaped into a word. Her name. Avery froze. Her pulse stumbled hard against her ribs as she leaned over the railing. Below, in the open foyer lit only by moon glow spilling through tall windows, a massive wolf stood absolutely still. Dark as midnight. Eyes burning molten gold. Aaron. But not like she'd ever seen him. His wolf form was enormous, far larger than any pack wolf she'd glimpsed from the fringes. His fur was thick, shadow-slick, bristling with tension as if wrestling with itself. His head lifted slowly, carefully, until his gaze locked with hers. Heat punched through her spine. Avery swallowed. "Why are you out of your skin?" she whispered to the empty hall. The wolf's ears twitched. Then soft, rough, deliberate. Another sound brushed the air. Avery. Her knees nearly buckled. Wolves did not speak human names. Wolves barely spoke words at all. Not unless. Her mind refused the possibility. Aaron's wolf stepped forward, claws clicking faintly on the floor. His tail hung low, not in submission, but in restraint. His gaze tracked her every movement, sharp and unblinking, like her slightest breath mattered. Avery gripped the railing tighter. Does he even know what he's doing? She whispered, more to herself than him. But the wolf answered. Not with speech this time. He tilted his head, the way Aaron did when he was trying to understand her. He held himself back like Aaron did when he didn't want to scare her. He paced once, short and tense, the way Aaron did when hiding something. Her throat tightened. That's impossible, she breathed. The wolf huffed, almost irritated. Avery took one step down the stairs. The wolf's posture shifted instantly, alert, coiled, as if her movement hit him too hard. His nose lifted, scenting her, chest rising sharply as though her presence struck somewhere deep. Avery hesitated halfway down the staircase. I shouldn't be near you while you're shifted, she whispered. His eyes flared. A low, vibrating sound rolled through him, not anger, not danger. Recognition. Avery's spine tingled. She took another step. The wolf stepped forward to meet her, slow and deliberate, closing the distance between them until only the final step separated them. His breath warmed her shins. Avery raised a trembling hand. Can you understand me? The wolf leaned up, careful, impossibly gentle for a creature built to break bone, and pressed his forehead lightly against the edge of her knee. Her chest compressed painfully. Aaron, she breathed. His ears flicked at his name. For a heartbeat, she thought she imagined it. The soft rumble vibrating through him. The emotion in it. Not anger. Not claim. Not dominance. A plea. Avery knelt slowly, shaking, until she was eye level with the massive wolf. His breath came fast, uneven, as if fighting something inside. His muzzle hovered inches from her face, eyes burning with too many things he'd never said aloud. Her voice came out small. Why now? Why shift just to find me? Aaron's wolf leaned closer and whispered, almost broken. Stay. Avery flinched. Her heart stuttered hard enough to ache. She shook her head, voice cracking. You're not supposed to be able to speak like that. The wolf closed the last inch between them and nudged her forehead with his. Gentle, grounding, as if anchoring both of them. Avery's breath trembled. This wasn't instinct. This wasn't accident. This wolf knew her. Not as prey. Not as burden. Not as a sheltered omega, saved by obligation. He knew her name. And some part of him. The part Aaron kept locked behind walls. The part scarred by whatever had broken his shift for years. Was reaching for her. Avery didn't remember moving. One moment she stood on the training grounds, surrounded by the beta trainees Aaron had ordered to keep distance. The next, the faint crunch of leaves behind her snapped every nerve upright. She turned too fast. Aaron wasn't there. But his wolf was. Massive, midnight dark fur rippling over muscle. Eyes lit with the same impossible shade she had seen the night he pinned her against the throne room wall, except this time there was no anger, no restraint. Only recognition. Recognition she wasn't supposed to earn. Avery's breath tangled in her throat as the wolf lowered its head, not in threat, but in something closer to reverence. Her fingers twitched at her sides. Why you're not supposed to be out, she whispered, though she knew wolves didn't follow human commands. Aaron said he couldn't shift, he said. The wolf stepped forward. One slow, deliberate stride. Avery backed up a fraction, an instinct older than logic, but her heel hit a fallen branch and she stopped. The wolf's ear flicked, picking up the sound like it had been waiting for any excuse to evaluate her again. Avery's pulse fluttered, but she didn't run. She didn't know why. She just didn't. Aaron, she asked softly. The wolf's gaze locked to hers. His pupils tightened, then widened as if pulling her closer without moving at all. Avery swallowed. Something in her chest kicked hard. Like a memory she didn't own. Like a promise she never made. You know me, she said before she could stop herself. Don't you? The wolf exhaled a warm breath that brushed her legs, carrying the same scent Aaron left on her skin the night he shielded her from the elders. That same storm-heavy, pine-laced heat. He nudged her knee with his nose. Gentle. Too gentle for a creature that could tear through steel if he wanted. Avery's fingers lifted halfway, hesitating in the cold air, and the wolf leaned in, as if offering himself. Her hand touched fur, and the world narrowed to a single heartbeat. The wolf closed his eyes. Not in weakness, but in something deeper, heavier. A sound vibrated from his chest, low and steady. A sound she had never heard from any wolf. A sound meant for her. "Aaron," she whispered again, but softer this time, almost a plea for him to stay like this. The wolf opened his eyes. Their color had changed. The blue she knew was gone, replaced by a molten gold she had only read about in pack records. Wolves didn't show that color unless. Avery stepped back a shaky inch. No, you shouldn't, that's a mate bond color. That can't be right." The wolf's muscles tensed. A warning shimmered in his gaze, not aimed at her, but at her panic. Avery shook her head, backing up another step. "Your wolf is confused. I can't be, we barely even." The wolf moved. Not lunging. Not attacking. He simply reached her before she finished the sentence. His fur brushed her hip as he circled behind her, placing himself between her and the shadows at the edge of the clearing. His body lowered slightly, ready to fight whatever approached. A growl rolled from him, sharp and claiming. Avery flinched. "Aaron, what's wrong?" Another twig snapped in the trees. This time, she felt the danger before she saw it. A scent hit her nose, harsh, metallic, wrong. A rogue. 2. No, more than that. The wolf didn't wait. He shoved her gently, but firmly behind a boulder, positioning his body in front of hers in a way that made her chest tighten painfully. "Aaron, you can't fight like this alone." The wolf glanced back. Just once. Enough to silence her. Enough to say, "I will not let them touch you." Then he was gone. A blur of black fur and raw fury erupting into the trees. The forest roared with the violence of his impact. Snarls, bones cracking, the thud of bodies hitting the earth. Avery gripped the edge of the boulder, fighting the urge to run toward the sound. He wasn't supposed to shift. He wasn't supposed to fight rogues alone. He wasn't supposed to know her scent, her fear, her name. But he did. He knew everything. Too much. A figure stumbled through the trees, a rogue limping, bleeding, eyes feral and fixed on her hiding place. Avery's breath froze. The rogue raised its claws. A blur hit it midair, tearing it away from her with a snarl so savage it rattled the leaves above her. Aaron's wolf pinned the rogue, jaws at its throat. But he didn't kill it immediately, because his gaze was on her, watching her face, her fear, her trembling hands. He only tore out the rogue's throat when her breathing steadied. Avery stared at him as he approached her again, slow, careful, as if she were the one who might break. She pressed a hand against her pounding chest. "You fought like..." She swallowed hard. "Like you were defending someone you claimed." The wolf stopped inches from her. She could feel his heat, his breath, his tension. Her voice wavered. "Aaron, what are you not telling me?" The wolf lowered his head and nudged her palm again. Only this time. The emotion behind it was unmistakable, and it terrified her more than the rogues ever could. Aaron didn't remember moving. One moment he was standing in the corridor outside the healer's chamber, knuckles white, vision tunneling. The next he was inside Avery's room, the door slamming against the wall behind him. Avery jerked upright in the bed, startled. Her breath caught when she saw his expression. Aaron. He wasn't listening. His pulse hammered far too loudly. His wolf prowled under his skin, restless and sharp, its claws scraping against the inside of his ribs like it wanted out. He He closed the distance between them without thinking. The scent in the room, her scent, dragged through him like a hook. Warm, familiar, impossible. He stopped right in front of her, chest rising too fast. "Say it again," he demanded, voice rougher than he intended. "What you told Marin." Avery swallowed. I don't know what you mean." "You whispered something," he pressed. "When you were drifting in and out, you said my wolf spoke to you." Her fingers curled in the blanket, knuckles pale. "I didn't mean to." "No," his tone softened, but only barely. "Tell me exactly what he said." Avery hesitated. Her heartbeat stuttered. He felt it through the air like a second pulse overlaying his. She looked down at her lap, lashes trembling. "He called me by my name," she whispered. Aaron stiffened. A strange pressure rolled down his spine, a sensation he hadn't felt in years. Recognition, but flawed, incomplete, like a melody he should know but can't quite catch. "My wolf doesn't talk to anyone," he said slowly. "He barely talks to me." "I know," Avery murmured. Something in her voice, quiet, fragile, too understanding, twisted deep inside him. His inner wolf pressed hard against the surface, a low vibration rumbling in his bones. Aaron braced a hand on the wall beside her head, leaning in without meaning to. He didn't touch her. He didn't need to. The space between them tightened anyway. "When did it happen?" he asked. Avery's throat bobbed. "Yesterday, when you were trying to break the binding pain, you grabbed my arm and your eyes." She stopped, breath shaking. "They weren't yours." Aaron's jaw flexed. He remembered the moment. He remembered nothing of what his wolf actually did. "What else did he say?" Aaron pushed. Avery hesitated again, too long. "Aaron, maybe it was nothing." "Don't do that." Her eyes lifted slowly to meet his. Something flickered there. Fear, yes, but something else too. Something that made his wolf lean forward with startling intensity. Finally, she whispered. "He said, 'I've found you.'" The floor seemed to tilt under Aaron's feet. A wolf only ever spoke those words to one person. He forced his breathing steady, though it came out uneven anyway. "Avery, that's a claim." She flinched. "I didn't ask for it." "I know. I don't want to ruin your life." "You're not. But the pack." "Screw the pack." The words were a growl, low, unrestrained. Avery's breath hitched, but she didn't pull away. For a moment, neither moved. Aaron's mind raced, memories he didn't have pressing at the edges, flashes of scent, warmth, moonlight, whispers, but fragmented, as if someone had taken a blade to everything he once knew. He reached out instinctively, then stopped himself, hand hovering just inches from her cheek. "I need to understand what's happening between us," he said, voice quieter now, steadier, before the elders twisted into something dangerous. Avery looked up at him, and for the first time, her voice carried a thin thread of defiance. "Then stop asking me like you're waiting for permission," she said. "Ask your wolf." Aaron froze. His pulse roared. His wolf surged. And something deep inside him, something long locked away, shifted like a door scraping open. A low, raw sound escaped him, not quite a growl, not quite a breath. "Avery," he murmured, standing far too close. "If I ask him, I don't know what he'll do." She held his gaze. "Maybe," she whispered, "it's time you stopped being afraid of him." Aaron didn't breathe. His wolf pushed forward so suddenly Aaron nearly staggered, heat rushing through his spine, his senses sharpening, the world narrowing to the one person in front of him. Avery didn't retreat. She didn't blink. She waited. Aaron swallowed and let his inner wolf rise, just enough. And the moment he did, a whisper curled through his mind, deep and certain. "Mine." Aaron's eyes snapped open, breath unsteady. Avery stared at him. "Aaron." He stepped back like he'd been struck, hand gripping the edge of the table to steady himself. "No." Too fast. Too intense. Too dangerous. "Get some rest," he forced out. "Aaron." We'll talk in the morning." His voice wasn't steady. It wasn't Alpha. It was a man running from something he didn't know how to control. He reached the door, paused, and without turning back, he whispered, "You were right, he knows your name." Then he walked out before he did something neither of them could undo. The council hall loomed like a stone throat waiting to swallow them both. Avery lingered at the edge of the doorway, shoulders drawn tight, breath shallow. The torches mounted on the walls crackled low, their light turning her profile soft then sharp, as if even the fire couldn't decide what she was. Aaron kept pace beside her, every step too controlled, forced control, the kind that came from someone who had run out of choices hours ago. She caught his eyes once. A flicker. A question she didn't dare voice in front of the guards escorting them in. He didn't speak either. He couldn't, not with his wolf coiled beneath his ribs like a warning drum. 3 elders waited on the raised dais. Kalen, rigid and smug. Marith, unreadable as cold water. And old elder Jorah, who looked more tired than judgmental tonight. Beta Rowan stood off to the side, like a storm tethered by duty. He gave Aaron a barely noticeable nod. "A promise, I'm here." Aaron's father was nowhere in sight. That alone churned something uneasy in Avery's stomach. The moment they stepped onto the polished stone, Elder Kalen lifted his voice. "Bring the Omega forward." Avery stiffened. Aaron stepped in front of her. "She stands next to me." Kalen's expression twitched displeasure, quickly reburied. Aaron, the council will decide where she stands." Aaron didn't move. He might as well have been carved from the marble beneath him. Beta Rowan cleared his throat. "With respect, Elder, positioning during questioning has no legislative requirement." Kalen shot him a warning look. But Aaron wasn't done. "She stays with me." Avery tugged on the sleeve of his jacket, small, quick, unsure if the elders saw it. "Aaron," she whispered, "please don't make this worse." Her voice cracked at the end. Not from weakness. He could hear the strain of someone trying not to shake. He angled slightly toward her. "You're not alone in this, not anymore." Marith lifted one brow, observing them with sharp interest instead of annoyance. "Very well," she said. "We'll proceed." Avery's legs carried her forward even though she felt like each step was borrowed courage. Aaron matched her stride, close enough for his warmth to brush her arm each time the torches flickered. Jorah leaned forward. "Avery of no known line, you were marked by a wolf outside the claiming right. Confirm this." Avery's fingers curled against her skirt. "Why, yes." Kalen didn't wait. "And you deny knowledge of the wolf's identity." "I do." Her pulse thudded in her ears. She felt Aaron tense beside her, subtle, but enough for her instincts to catch. Kalen's gaze slid to Aaron. Aaron, you maintain you did not mark her." Aaron's throat tightened. "I didn't." "Yet your wolf recognizes her," Kalen pressed. Aaron inhaled sharply, struggling to keep his wolf from breaking through the thin barrier between skin and fur. "It reacts, that's all." Marith folded her hands. "Reactions mean something. Wolves do not misfire." Avery's voice slipped out before she planned to speak. "My presence causes him pain. That's all I've seen." Both elders looked at her. Marith's tone softened a fraction. "Pain can be a sign of a bond under threat." Avery's ribs squeezed tight. Aaron's eyes snapped toward her, fast, instinctual. She held her breath. Bond. They couldn't be talking about a bond. Jorah tapped the parchment before him. "Avery, show us the mark." She froze. Aaron immediately placed himself half a step forward, protective, tense. Rowan spoke up this time. "Elders, you may recall the tradition. Markings are inspected privately for female safety." Kalen exhaled long and slow. "Fine, step behind the screen." Avery moved toward the divider at the edge of the dais, hands trembling despite her effort to hide it. But before she reached it, Aaron murmured behind her, low enough for only her to hear. "I'll be right here. Whatever they decide, you face none of this alone." Her breath hitched, not from fear this time, but from the kind of relief she didn't know how to hold. She stepped behind the screen, and the moment she lifted her shirt enough to reveal the mark. A gust of energy swept through the hall, faint but undeniable. A surge like something ancient had just awakened. 3 elders sat straighter. Aaron's wolf slammed against his control. Rowan swore under his breath. Avery pulled the fabric back down, fingers shaking. Marith spoke first. "Bring her forward, now." Avery emerged from behind the divider, cheeks warm, heartbeat stumbling. Aaron's gaze darted immediately to her face, never to her back. "What happened?" he asked, jaw tight. But he didn't need an answer. Because Kaelin leveled a single finger toward Avery, voice carrying through the hall with the weight of a verdict. "That is not an Omega's mark." Avery went still. Aaron felt the world tilt, quietly, dangerously. Jorah's voice was almost gentle. "Child, who touched you?" Avery opened her mouth and realized she didn't know. Not fully. Not yet. The council chamber felt colder than when they'd entered, as if the stone itself had been waiting for this moment. Aaron stayed in front of Avery, blocking even the idea of danger. His shoulders were rigid enough to crack. Avery kept her gaze down, but he caught subtle movements, her fingers curling into her palms, the tiny lift of her chin every few breaths like she was trying to remind herself she was still here. Elder Kaylee's cleared her throat, long silver braids brushing her wrists as she unfolded a faded ledger. "Before we begin formal questioning," she said, "we must confirm the girl's lineage." Avery tensed behind him. Aaron turned slightly. "Why? You already know she came from Ridgefall borders. She lost her parents." Elder Rom interrupted, voice gravelly. "That is the problem. Ridgefall wolves do not simply lose families. Every death is catalogued, every bloodline traced." Avery's head dipped lower. Aaron's jaw clenched. "You're implying she's lying." "We imply nothing," Rom said. "We state facts." Avery stepped forward before Aaron could speak again. Her voice was quiet but steady. "I don't know who my parents were. I don't remember their faces. The night I was found, everything was smoke, wolves running. I don't even know if they were from Ridgefall." A ripple of murmurs swept the room. Aaron heard something else. A faint tremor in her voice she tried to hide. Elder Kaylee's tapped a page. "We searched records from 3 packs. No Avery. No child matching your age. No orphan reports." Avery's breath hitched. Aaron's wolf snarled inside him, claws scraping at the edges of his control. Do something. But the laws chained him tighter than any hand on his shoulder. Elder Rom leaned forward. "Tell us your full name." Avery hesitated. Aaron looked down at her. "It's okay," he murmured. "Just speak." She lifted her chin slightly. "It's Avery. Only Avery. The woman who found me said I didn't give a surname, and she didn't want to give the wrong one." The elders exchanged glances. "That is impossible," Kaylee said sharply. "A Packborn child always knows their family name." Aaron stepped forward, heat rising beneath his skin. "She was 5 and running from a burning village. I doubt she was focused on reciting her lineage." "That is precisely why it is suspicious," Rom shot back. Avery swallowed hard. Aaron felt her scent shift, fear mixed with that warm undertone that always pulled his wolf to attention. He exhaled slowly, fighting every instinct pushing him to drag her out of this cursed room. Kaylee's turned another page. "Avery, lift your left arm, please." Aaron frowned. "Why?" "It concerns her bloodline," she replied. Reluctantly, Avery pushed back her sleeve. The faint, pale scar beneath her wrist, shaped almost like a crescent, caught the torchlight. The elders inhaled sharply. Aaron stiffened. "What is that supposed to mean?" Kaylee's closed the ledger with a soft thud that somehow felt like thunder. "That mark," she said, "has not appeared in this realm for over 20 years. Avery froze. What do you mean?" Rom's eyes narrowed. "Child, that symbol belongs to a pack that no longer exists." Aaron's heartbeat pounded into his throat. Avery stared at her own wrist as if she'd never seen it before. I don't understand. Kaylee's voice dropped to a whisper. Avery, you bear the mark of the fallen crest pack. Aaron stepped backward, the air knocked from his lungs. That pack was destroyed, he said hoarsely. Every member. Yes, Rom answered gravely, which means the girl's presence here is either a miracle or a threat. Avery swayed slightly, breath rasping. Aaron caught her arm instantly. He expected her to pull away. She didn't. Not this time. Avery felt the floor tilt beneath her as Elder Malin's verdict settled over the hall like a storm cloud ready to split open. Her blood will be tested, he said flatly. If she carries anything tainted, curse prophecy. Foreign lineage, she will be punished accordingly. Punished. Not questioned. Not understood. Punished. Avery's breath hitched, too sharp, too loud in the suffocating quiet. Her fingers curled into her skirt, nails biting through the fabric as if she could stop the trembling in her hands by force. Aaron wasn't trembling. He was burning. His chair scraped backward, harsh against stone. You want to test her. His voice had dropped into something low enough to warn every instinct in the room. Fine, but you don't decide the punishment. Malin raised a brow. And you think you do. I'm the heir, Aaron said, and she is under my protection until proven otherwise. Protection you forced into existence, Kaelin reminded sharply. Or have you forgotten your impulsive claim? A murmur rippled through the hall. Curiosity, fear, judgment. Avery shrank beneath it. Aaron didn't. His gaze locked onto the elders like he was holding back teeth. My wolf recognized something in her, he said. If you punish her without understanding what that something is, you risk harming the pack's future. Malin's tone chilled. Or yours. Aaron took a step forward. Say what you want to say. The elder didn't flinch. Your father is already wary of your instability. If this girl's presence worsens it, then she is a threat, and threats are removed. Avery stopped breathing. Removed. Not relocated. Not restrained. Removed. Her vision blurred for a moment, then reformed around the shape of Aaron's shoulders as he moved. Fast, controlled, dangerous. If you're suggesting what I think you are, he said, you'll regret it. Kaelin leaned forward. Careful, heir. Threats against the elders are the only thing keeping you from making fatal mistakes, Aaron snapped. Gasps broke across the hall. Someone muttered, he's lost control. Another whispered, his wolf won't rise, now this. Leela, sitting a few rows back, straightened sharply. Aaron, stop. Her voice carried through the room, not a command but a plea. Aaron blinked, as if pulled back from the edge. Only then did he notice Avery staring at him with wide, terrified eyes. He softened, not visibly, not enough for anyone but her to notice, but something in his posture eased just a fraction. Malin lifted a hand. Enough, the decision stands. 2 guards stepped forward. Avery flinched so violently, one of them hesitated. Aaron was there instantly, blocking their path. Don't even think about putting your hands on her, he said quietly. Malin's patience snapped. Aaron Vale, stand down. But Aaron didn't move. Avery looked up at him, voice shaking. Please don't do this, you'll make it worse. He didn't look at her. Couldn't. Because if he did, he might break something sacred inside him that he wasn't ready to examine. He spoke without turning. I will escort her myself. That is not your decision, Kaelin barked. Aaron finally looked back at Avery. Her breath caught when she saw his eyes, not bright, not crazed, but fierce in a way that wrapped around her like a shield. A silent promise. You're not going anywhere with them, he murmured. I won't allow it. Avery's throat tightened at the conviction in his voice. It wasn't possessive. It wasn't alpha arrogance. It was fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of what they would do if she wasn't under his watch. Fear of something he hadn't dared name. Malin slammed his staff against the floor. Enough. You escort her then. But if she attempts to flee, if she hides anything, if her test reveals even a hint of corruption. His gaze cut to Avery like a knife. She will face cleansing. Avery's knees nearly gave out. Aaron caught her by the arm before anyone noticed. His voice was barely above a whisper when he spoke to her. They aren't touching you again, he said. That was the moment the hall shifted. Every gaze turned to them. Every whisper sharpened. Avery wasn't just some Omega now. She was the girl the heir refused to surrender. And Aaron. Aaron had just drawn a line the pack couldn't ignore. A slow, dangerous line that said, "She is mine to protect, and I will fight you all if I must." The elders exchanged glances. The decision had been made. But the war had just begun. The storm broke long before the clouds did. Aaron felt it in the way the air thinned around Avery, as if the world itself backed away from whatever truth she carried. She stood at the edge of the training grounds, hands buried in the sleeves of the oversized tunic he'd forced her to wear after the elders' attack. Her gaze stayed fixed on the forest line, but her mind wasn't there. She was waiting for something, or dreading it. Aaron didn't approach immediately. He watched her from a distance first, taking in the small tells, the stiff posture, the way her shoulders pulled inward every time the wind rustled leaves behind her. Her hair clung to the back of her neck, damp from the earlier rain. Avery wasn't fragile, but she was shaken. And that was something he could no longer pretend not to notice. When he finally stepped closer, she tensed before she saw him. Her instincts were sharpening. He could almost feel her inner wolf packing beneath her skin. "Avery," he said quietly. She didn't turn. "You shouldn't be near me right now." That's becoming your favorite line. Her breath left her in a tight exhale. "I mean it today." He moved beside her, leaving just enough space not to crowd her. She looked pale under the gray light, cheeks drawn tight as if she hadn't slept. He knew she hadn't. He hadn't either. "What did the elders strike trigger?" Aaron asked. Her fingers curled around the fabric of her sleeves. "Nothing. Too fast, too rehearsed." Her voice almost cracked at the end. Aaron stepped closer, not touching, but close enough that her scent hit him full force again. Not just honey and warmth this time. Something else threaded beneath it, something primal. "You're hiding something," Aaron said, quieter now. "And whatever it is, your wolf is reacting to it." Avery's eyes flicked up at him, and for the briefest second, they glowed. Not silver. Not gold. Something in between, like moonlight caught on a blade. She blinked and it vanished. "Avery," Aaron murmured. "I don't know what's happening," she whispered. "My wolf, it's waking up wrong." A gust of wind whipped across them. Aaron braced himself against the instinctive growl rising in his chest. "Show me." She flinched. "No." "Why?" Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. "Because every time it rises, it pulls toward you." The ground beneath them might as well have cracked. Aaron stepped back as if struck. His wolf surged forward, claws scraping at the inside of his ribs. Avery hugged her arms tighter, shrinking into herself. "You said it yourself. Your wolf shouldn't react to me, and mine shouldn't react to you, but something between us is wrong, twisted." Aaron felt his breath shorten, his control thin and fraying. The elders would kill for this secret. Some would kill to keep it buried. Some would kill to use it. He forced his voice steady. "Avery, look at me." She didn't at first. When she finally did, rain-soft eyes met his, trembling with something close to fear, but not of him. Of herself. "What happened after the elder struck you?" Aaron asked. Avery hesitated. Her nails dug into her own arms. She shook her head once, twice. Then her voice broke in a small, raw confession. "I heard a name in my head." Aaron stiffened. "Whose?" She looked away toward the trees, pupils dilating in a way that had nothing to do with fear. "My wolf whispered a name." She swallowed. "And it was yours, Aaron." His heart jolted, once violently. A gust pressed against them, cracking branches overhead. Avery took a step back, breathing too fast now. "It keeps happening," she whispered. "Whenever I lose control, whenever my wolf stirs, it calls for you like it already knows you, like it's known you forever." Aaron's pulse thundered so hard he felt it in his throat. "Avery," he said, voice strained, "that's not possible, you and I." "I know," her laugh was small and broken. "It shouldn't be. You're the heir, I'm nothing. You would have recognized the bond long before I did." Bond. The word felt forbidden between them. Aaron's wolf lunged in his chest, hungry, desperate, recognizing something Aaron shouldn't let it recognize. He forced every instinct back down. "Avery, stop saying you're nothing." She didn't hear him. Her breathing grew uneven, the glow flickering again behind her eyes. "Aaron, something is inside me, something old, something my wolf shouldn't remember, and the more it wakes up." Her voice hitched. "The more it pulls toward you like it's claiming something that isn't real." Aaron's stomach dropped. Not because she was wrong, but because he had felt the same pull, and had buried it every single day. Before he could speak, a branch snapped from the training yard entrance. Someone approached, fast, urgent. Beta Ronan's voice cut through the tension. "Aaron, your father is demanding your presence, now." Aaron didn't look away from Avery. Not even for a second. Ronan's tone sharpened. "He's furious, Aaron, if you make him wait." Aaron lifted one hand to silence him. Avery watched him with wide, shaken eyes. "Go," she whispered. "Please, don't make this worse." Aaron didn't move. His wolf didn't either. Ronan stepped closer, whispering sharply, "He's calling a private council, about the rogue attack and about Avery." Avery's breath hitched. Aaron finally spoke. "I'll handle him." "And her?" Ronan asked quietly. Aaron looked at Avery, really looked at her. The way her wolf pressed against her skin. The way fear and instinct tangled in her scent. The way something inside him responded despite every damn law he'd been raised to follow. "She stays with me," Aaron said. Avery closed her eyes, as if that single sentence fractured something inside her. Ronan exhaled. "Then this night is going to end badly." Aaron turned toward the Alpha Hall. The storm gathered above the pack house, clouds rolling low and heavy. Not a single drop had fallen yet, but the pressure in the air said a downpour was inevitable. He looked over his shoulder one last time. Avery stood exactly where he'd left her, watching him like the truth between them was becoming something they couldn't outrun. Something dangerous. Something binding. Something that would change everything. He forced himself to walk away. But with every step, one terrifying truth pressed harder against his chest. If her wolf knew his name, then the laws written in blood were about to break. Wind slammed against the training yard walls as Aaron shoved open the door, dragging Avery behind him. Thunder rumbled over the mountains, low and restless, mirroring the energy clawing through his veins. Avery tried to keep up, but her steps were uneven. She wasn't trembling anymore, just quiet in that way that meant she was slipping into her own head. He hated that look on her. "Slow down," she muttered, stumbling when he took a sharp turn. Aaron loosened his grip immediately. "Sorry, didn't realize." She pulled her hand back gently, rubbing the skin where his fingers had been. He tried not to stare at that small motion, but it caught him anyway, because she wasn't recoiling from him. She was steadying herself. The difference was small, important, dangerous. A guard rushed toward them. "Heir, your father is in the East Wing. He wants you there now." Aaron didn't pause. "Tell him I'll come when I'm done." The guard paled. "Sir," he ordered. Aaron's eyes lifted, sharp enough to slice the storm. "I said what I said." The guard backed off instantly. Avery watched the exchange with a slow exhale. "You're pushing too hard." "No," he said, turning fully toward her. "Not anymore." Lightning burst overhead, illuminating her face for a heartbeat. Wide eyes, slightly parted lips, a question hovering between them she was too afraid to ask. Her scent tugged at him again, warm like earth after rain. His wolf leaned forward at the same time he did. Not safe. Not now. Not with his father hunting for weakness. He forced himself back a step. We're going somewhere they can't listen. Avery blinked. Where? Aaron jerked his chin toward a narrow passage between the hall and the barracks. No windows, no patrol routes, no witnesses. Here, he said quietly. Talk. She hesitated at the threshold. About what? Everything you're not telling me. The wind funneled down the passageway, swirling her scent straight into his lungs. His wolf prowled under his skin, closer than it had been in months, since before the night he lost control. Avery lifted her chin a little. I'm not hiding anything. He stepped closer, crowding just enough to feel her breath stir the space between them. You are, and I'm done pretending I can't smell it. Avery stiffened. Smell what? Aaron lowered his voice. Fear, guilt, something older than the mark. Her throat bobbed. Aaron. Don't. His fingers brushed the wall behind her as he leaned in. Don't lie to me. Not when I just defied the elders for you. Not when my father is deciding whether to strip my title. Not when the council thinks you're a threat. She swallowed again, slow, pained, deliberate. I never asked for that. I know. And that somehow made it worse. A lightning flash lit her face again, and for the first time, he saw something under the surface, something she'd buried deep. Not fear. Recognition. Like she knew exactly what had happened between their wolves. Like she'd known longer than he had. His pulse thudded once hard. Avery, look at me. She tried to turn away. He caught her wrist, not rough, just firm. Her gaze drifted up reluctantly, and whatever she'd been holding back cracked just a little. Aaron, your wolf, her breath hitched softly. He knows my name. His vision blurred at the edges. What? She squeezed her eyes shut, as if saying it made her vulnerable enough to fall apart. The night we were ambushed, she whispered. When you shifted, when you lost control. Her fingers curled against her chest. He spoke, not out loud, but inside my head. He said my name before anyone else did. Aaron went still. Completely. The passageway wind died for a moment, as if the storm itself was listening. His wolf surged upward like someone had just ripped the floor out from beneath him, violent, unmistakable, furious that he'd never heard her say this before. Aaron braced one hand against the wall to keep himself steady. You heard him. Avery nodded once, small and shaky. He leaned in, closer than he meant to, voice roughened by something he couldn't cage. Why didn't you tell me? Because it doesn't make sense, she said, voice cracking. Wolves don't do that, not with Omegas, not with someone like me. Aaron's jaw tightened. Stop reducing yourself like that. I'm being realistic. You're being wrong. The wind roared again, slamming through the narrow space. Aaron positioned himself in front of her automatically, shielding her from the icy gust. Avery's breath brushed the back of his neck. Aaron, she whispered, what does it mean? His wolf answered before he could. It shoved hard against his chest, rising and rising until he had to grit his teeth to hold the shift back. It means, Aaron breathed, the bond isn't forming. Avery blinked. Then why? It's already there. She backed into the wall, eyes going wide, not frightened but overwhelmed. Aaron. He wasn't touching her, but he might as well have been. The air between them vibrated with the truth neither of them were ready for. And then footsteps erupted at the far end of the passage. Eric's voice echoed sharply. Aaron, the elders summoned you again. Now. Avery jerked. Aaron didn't move. Eric stepped closer, lowering his voice as he saw their faces. What happened?